This is after Yerushalmi Shekalim. Let's start from the top of Chav Testament Alf. Right at the top in the Art School edition. Al Daite Rabbi Yochanan Kasha. I didn't think we did this yesterday, but we'll do it again. Start from the top. And that in the Vilna Yerushalmi is evidently right towards the bottom of Yud Zayin Ralph. And in the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi, it is on Daf Yud Alf and Ralph. And it is starting counting lines above the Mishnah, 3, 4, 8 lines up, I think. Yeah, 8 lines up. Further up than that. 10 lines up. It starts out Daite Rabbi Yochanan. Is that 10 lines or 11 lines up? 11 lines up. First place in lines are Daite Rabbi Yochanan Kasha. So Rabbi Yochanan said that most are peiros in our mikdash, which Rabbi Shmuel spoke about, and the Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Chinas Chanakonim were not moida in it. That this most of peiros was a case where you had a normal discrepancy in price, from which there was revach for hektish, that they're agreed to Mekabel, the suppliers agreed to Mekabel the 4 for $1, and then the UK went out, then the price of them went 3 for, now it's 3 for $1, but the suppliers have to still supply 4 for $1, and now the basic mikdash, of course, sells it for 3 for $1, so they're making 25% profit, and 25% profit is considered to be Mosar, right? And that's what Rabbi says, that's Mosar Peros, the profit you make on the selling the additional wine and oil which you received. But so according to Rabbi Yochanan, how can that be made? This is a Mishnah Fereshus that we learned that this exists. Rabbi Yochanan, Nina, we learned Amdu Mishosh Yesisapi Be'arba, right? We know that that is the fact. Yes, so it's Nina, and therefore how can you say in our Mishnah Zev Lo Money Paris? That's the Pshat in Paris. Why would it not be made in that? So we had to say, okay, according to another Pshat, Moshe Peres, that it wasn't, which is the Pshat of Rabbi Chia, but it's okay because it was not. It was something else. It was making profit off hektish. But this is Ma'asim Shebachol Yom. How can you say Zev is Lo Modim Peres? So it says, "Ma Lo Modim Peres L'Kayitz Mizbech." Of course, they were made that there was such a procedure, such a phenomenon on the base of Mikdash. They just were not made that these players are used to carry some Mizbech. This advantage to Hekdesh did not go for Karetz Mizbech. Have a money they conceded that it went for the purpose of Klishoris. Everybody agreed that there was this excess, but the question is what the purpose was for which they used it. So it said, Zev is that Lo Modim and Peres, Rabbi they did not agree that Moshe Peres went to Ketzim Mizbech, like Rabbi Shmuel said. They held that it went to buy Kli Shoris. Okay, it says the Gemara concerning the next part of the Mishnah. Okay, so we talked about Birutze Midos. We talked about the heaping top, which went on top of the actually in the Mishnah. The Brisa. The Mishnah, most of the Nesachim. So Rabbi Yochanan said most of the Nesachim, which mentions Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Chinas Chanakonim, is the Beirutzim. That's the heaping over the top of the when they used to pile up the suppliers had to put the solas over the top, and then when they sold it to the individuals, they gave them a straight measure, and there was this excess Mosin Nesachim. So and the Mishnah, we had said that what did they say about it? He said Mosar Nesachim Klishores, and Rabbi Chinas Chanakonim said Mosin Nesachim is Kaitz Mizbech. He said the machlok is what they did with this, with this Mosar Nesachim, which could Rabbi Yochanan define as Birutze Midos. Okay, so it says more Akidum Birutze Tzibur. So our Mishnah talk about Birutze Tzibur, where the Tzibur, had this revach from the suppliers heaping up the measures. Afilu birutze yachid. What about birutze yachid? What's the status when an individual gives a heaping measure? And the Korban Eder explains what the issue is. Birutze tibur you can use for a purpose of kli sharis. Birutze shinis vasu mi korbanos hayachid. Birutze the korbanos yachid. Echad shashal kli sharis. He has nasim shal yachid. Right? How can that be used for that purpose? Utavaya parach. And he says that it's a question both, not just Rabbi Yochanan. Ben Rabbi Yochanan, Ben Rabbi Chia, Ben Yosef. It's all the questions on both of them. So evidently they both agree that most of the Nesachim is the Birutze Midos, not just Rabbi Yochanan. So that's the question: what do you do with Birutze Yachid? When to Kli Sharis Barim Mishal Yachid, I didn't actually need Korban Eder. So what's up? When to Kli Sharis Barim Mishal Yachid, it says, well, we had a precedent for this. That's not an issue. At the time, like we learned, Isha Sha'asas Ketayna. It's a Levana, a woman who made a white shirt, which could be used for the Kohen Gadol. Tichlim Soil Tzibor. She has to be mostly for the Tzibor, but she can be mostly to the Tzibor, and therefore they can make for them a Kli Sharis. Okay, so it says we're fine. Akdum Birutze Lach. So I understand that Birutze Lach are Kodesh because since they're the Birutzim of a moist measure, and you put wine can go over the top of a keli is because I think it's called surface tension, which makes it be able to go over the top a bit. So then it's hekdesh because since it's moist, so some it went into the kli and some goes out of the kli, so it's always circulating, and therefore it's hekdesh. Okay, and you have to treat it as hekdesh. What about Afilu Birutze Yavesh? What about, is this true also about the heaping heaps of dry measures, such as flour, obviously? What do we say? Since they never entered into the vessel, they're chol, right? So, Kinat Nia Tamon. So here we're going to go with the Groaz Girsa, which Chaim also uses, which is a pretty extensive change. Let me just mark that in my corner here. So Brisa says, Birutze Lach, this is a Brisa in the Menachos. It's also brought down, briefly says, Takna Chadin in the Gemara Menachos, that's Takna base. So this Brisa says, Birutze Lach Kodesh. The Birutzim, the heaps from a moist measure of Kodesh, nevertheless, even though the Kodesh Kedusha is a goof, they are redeemed for the you can use them the excess for Kli Sharis, and Reb Chaim explains that it's a this is also basically what Talmud Chanti says, but not as explicitly, because it's a Tnai Basin. Kom Kaddish Adas Basin Mekam Makdish, and therefore they can, whatever is, even if it's an individual is Makdish, they're redeemed and they're used for Kli Sharis. Okay, not sure if he says Nivdim, but it's not sure exactly what the opinion is. I guess you have to get money for it, right? So you have to sell it, get money, and use the money in order to buy the Kli Sharis. Okay, so Birutze Lach is a Kodesh. Then Birutze Kodesh, Birutze Yavesh is Chulin. But Birutze Yavesh is Chulin. So again, I'm reading for the Groaz Girsa, if you follow along. Birutze Lach Kodesh, Birutze Yavesh Chulin. For Lama Birutze Lach Kodesh, why Birutze Lach Kodesh? Neshem Midas Alach Nimshav Mivnim. The Midah of Lach was consecrated on the inside. Why Birutze Yavesh Chulin? The Midah of Yavesh was not anointed. It wasn't made Kodesh, neither on the inside nor on the outside. Certainly not on the outside. Okay, neither inside nor the outside. This is really not nogay us directly, but according to the discussion in Menachos, the midas lach is niskadish nimshcha, and therefore it's mekadosh anything, including the birutzim, of course, which go over the top, because they at some point everything enters the keli. Midas yavesh is not nimshcha at all, and anything which is kadosh in a midas yavesh in a dry measure is kadosh because of klushas peh, because it's consecrated verbally, and there you wouldn't have to redeem even the birutzim, because you just knock them off, and they're chol, because mekadosh bepeh what's inside the vessel. So continuing with the gross girtza, nevertheless, since despite the difference, again, it's not relevant to our discussion. Kol birutzim midas k'tis, kol birutzim midas halolu, all these heaps, im yesh zevach acher chivimo. Since they're extra for this korban, there's another korban which they can be sacrificed. There should be sacrificed the korban, as the sachim that other korban. In lav, if not, nifsu belina. If not, they're going to be apostle belina. If you leave them overnight, they're going to become apostle, because they were in this Kaddish Bekeli. And the truth is that the roots of Midas Yavis should not become apostle belina, because they were not in this Kaddish. They were just Kaddish because of belina. But the Marafulda says they came apostle midrabanan. Since even though it's on this Kaddish, nevertheless, I guess it's Marasayandik thing that they were, since the stuff which is in the keli was kadosh, so that's what people don't distinguish. So there's stuff outside the keli also they think of kadosh, so it become possible leader. But in any event, the point is the next line. Now the way the Chaim explains this, and it means make sure they don't become possible leader. Yes, they become possible leader, but don't make sure they don't. How do you make sure they become possible leader? If they don't become possible leader, if you don't have the korban for them available, sell them and use the money for Ketzah Mizbech. So we see that Birutze Yavish, despite the fact that we're in the Scottish, right? Nevertheless, they are used for Ketzah Mizbech as well. That's what I have from that price. Okay, says the next Mishnah. You have leftover Ketores. So the Korban Eda gives the scenario, also the Takin Chadatin, almost identical. So let's read the Korban Eda. Moisek Ketores, and Moisek B'chol Shona, anything that which is left over the end of the year. She'ein l'chol kol Shona, she'ein bo Moisek Ketores. Moisek, no year that there wasn't Moisek Ketores. Shakhtores says Shin Samaches Monim. There's 368 measures. The Shin Samachet comedian was the 365 according to the year, the solar calendar. Shlosh Monim and 3 Monim Shemehem Machnis Kohen Gadol Melech of Nabi Yom Kippur. Kohen Gadol would do his fistfuls on Yom Kippur. And not those 3 Monim, not all of them could enter into his fistful. There was excess. In any normal year there would be excess, because there would always be excess from the because only 354 days in the Jewish calendar, so there'd be 11 extra, and each of those years. Of course, as we say in Peter, there was once every 60 or 70 years, there was it was like 100. It came out to half of a shear of 368 mana. Even though they had to compensate and make up from the 11 extra days for the leap years, right? But it's still the leap years every 2 or 3 years. You're still going to have excess, because a leap year is 30 days, and every 3 years you're going to have 33 extra monim, 11 for each year, plus size according to those leftovers. So you're going, okay, 30 days, but they'll still leave you 3 days excess. So in any event, there was excess which gathered over time. So there was always the extra ktoris. So what would you do with this extra ktoris if you weren't stockpiling it? Like we said, the thing is they couldn't just stockpile it from year to year, because every year, as Rosh Chodesh Nisan, then the ktoris has come from the new fiscal calendar, has come from the new Chumas Alishka. So they had to, in order to use the ktoris, even though they could stockpile it, they had to sell and buy back from the new truma, right? So what would they do from it? So it says, "Ma'ilo simba." What would they do with it? Ma'afrishim men schar umnin. So they separate enough in order to pay the umnin who the craftsman who made the ketores. Chalin also, and they would redeem it on mos umnin, they redeem it on the money of the craftsman. So they take money from the new truma salishka, which corresponds to the value of the payment for the umnin, redeem the ketores, the mos ketores on that money, and then use that. Now the mos ketores was chulin, although the Gemara would ask, "What are you talking about? How did it become chulin?" Which is be put a hektish on hektish. But anyway, at this point, that's what the Mishnah saying. And of the nice solomim mischaran, he would give it to the most of those, which is now chulin, to the umnin as their payment, shava kesef kesef. And then you buy it back from the shuma chadasha. So vimba chodesh bismano. If they had enough money from the Truma Chadasha, Truma Chadasha, you buy it from the Truma Chadasha. But if not, so they were not. If it was not, I'm not sure how they're funding the operations of the base of Mikdash, but if they didn't have money yet from the Truma Chadasha, so then they brought from the Yeshana, but which was very difficult. So Reb Chaim and the art go with a very different shot here. It says it's also the parish to the Ras Rilio and the Melecha Shlema. So the shot is it's also not so simple, but in Bachod not Chodesh but Chodesh. In Chodesh is mano. If Rosh Chodesh was its proper time, meaning that Adar was only 29 days long, so then they could take from they didn't need extra day, then everything would be they take just from Truma Chadasha, no problem. But what happened if they made Adar an extra day? There was a 30th day, so now they were at the budget for an extra day they didn't plan for. So therefore, since a lot became a leap month, so they had to take a little bit of Torres from the Truma Yeshana from the previous year, right? So Chodesh Bismano, which Chodesh Nisa came out on what would have been Lamed Adar, then Lochim Some Truma Chadasha. Milav Chodesh Adar comes out would have been Lamed Aleph Adar, or Chodesh Nisa comes out would have been Lamed Aleph Adar next day. So then you go from Yeshana for the extra day. If you do like the other Pshat, you have to say it's not just talking about Moshe Torah, it's just an example. It's talking about in general, there's no money from the Truma Chadash yet, so somehow they have to use the Truma Yoshana. I guess there's some lay based in Masna that they can use in a pinch, use the Truma Yoshana for the Truma Chadasha when the funds haven't yet gone to the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so then the Gemara asks a very basic question. You're using money from Truma Chadasha to be paid as the Ketores, but what do you mean paid that? The learning to hektish mischal hektish. Aren't you mischal hektish on hektish? How's this working here? You paid him hektish on chulin, but not another hektish. You have to take money from chulin money and be paid the ketores. So then the chulin money become hektish, and the ketores become chol. But here is the Mishnah say using money from Truma Salishka to be paid the ketores. How is that working? Oh, by the way, before we go further, I saw the Riva Vana actually deals with that question. So he says, we talked about before how they use these Truma Yeshana. So he says, mitzvah, maybe the ocean mitzvah. So if you learn like the Pashut Pshat in the Mishnah, so that they made Yeshana, it's okay. They don't even need lay base in Masa, but they have it. You made Yeshana, baby, Yeshana. Okay, so but getting back to this question, Shimcha said maybe most umachal on a binyan. Bring money and redeem it on construction, on the stones. So the stones which they built, we've saw this previously in Masechta, they were built b'chol, and they were to be makdish it afterwards. So you take the money to pay the craftsman, and you mechal that money from the Truma Salishka on the stones. So now the money is chulin, and the stones are kodesh, but the money itself is chulin, and you are mechala the ketores on that money which you just got used in order to buy the stones, which is now chulin. Okay, goes so again. Maybe most mechal on binyan. We money for Chumas Alishka, Michal on the Binyan, and then the money is Chol. Maybe a Ktores Chalem, you owe the money to Michal the Ktores. Nice money B'schar, you give the craftsman the Ktores as their schar, and then you buy back from the craftsman. And, unfortunately, I have difficulty why go through such an elaborate procedure, but it seems that they wanted the Ktores to come from the craftsman, just like the other Ktores. So it looked that they're getting for the craftsman, so it looked like it was coming for the new year or something like that. This is the procedure they came up with. And there's, again, a lot of discussion here. Unfortunately, why this procedure, not another procedure? I'm not sure. That's kind of like Kasha and Maisa. Again, evidently they wanted to consolidate all the Ktores together by the Umnei Ktores, and therefore they did it in this way. I don't know why. But unfortunately, spent a lot of time discussing this aspect, that aspect, not necessary for our purposes. Now, there's the next line, in the, I should check it, actually, it's in the Vilna. I'm not sure it's in the Reb Chaim. No, it's in the Reb Chaim. And he doesn't take it out. He doesn't comment on it. It says, Osan HaMos Ma Yasebain. So the Gra takes out these words. Because it's not really, we just describe what you do with the money, so I'm not sure what the question is. And the article also takes them out. I don't know why Reb Chaim doesn't take them out. Okay, he does a comment. He should be taking them out. It's strange. The other Mefarshim do leave it in the words, of course, and they have a shot in it. And could be according to Reb Chaim, really the words are shaykh later on. When I think he learns that it's going really on what Rechir Barba, much further down in the Amud. But not Rechir Barba. So, Rechir Barba. But, okay, but it's the easiest thing to do is to take him out like the Gra. So, Rabbi Omer. Rabbi says, and I'm going to go to this next line. Reb Chaim made them said this line. So I'm going to go to Reb Chaim. Rabbi says, you know what? You don't have to do this whole redemption procedure on our Mishnah. Because the way Reb Chaim learns it is that he holds that Hekdesh is mischalel on Malacha. In other words, the fact that the Umnin are doing work for Hekdesh and they're running up a tab, you give them the Ktores, and the Ktores then becomes redeemed on the work that the Hekdesh now has to pay, the money that Hekdesh owes the workers. Okay, so therefore, the Shavak Kesef of the Ktores becomes redeemed because it's being used as payment for the work being done by the Umnin. And this is also about, he says about Beis Avtinas. He says about, it's about the Beis Avtinas who do Lechem HaPanim. It says, Rabbi Omer, Rabbi Omer Ani, Nos Beis Gam Beis Avtinas, Shu Bekim Bevit Maktos U'Maisa Lechem HaPanim. So you can pay them straight, both for the Pita Maktoris and for the Lechem because the money you give them is mischalo on the, or the Ktoris itself, in our case, our Mishnah, the Ktoris or whatever you're giving them, the money or Ktoris is redeemed on their work. So the work is the payment for it, it redeems it, and the Ktoris goes to Chulin, and or the money which goes to them and goes out L'chulin. And you don't need any the interim step of going out binyan. That's only true if you hold hekdesh is not mischal al malacha. Then you have to do the interim step of going with being mischal on stones, which are not hekdesh, or it's mischal malacha. So the work itself is the payment and the redemption of the hekdesh. So it says Gemara, but that's only the most b'shor rishona. It's when they already owe them money. Right, so therefore, now you give them the Ktoris, and it's redeemed on the money that they owe them. Right, it can't give them the Ktoris ahead of time and say, okay, as it's redeemed on money in the future. It doesn't work that way. No, but it has to be a obligation that they're paying through with the Ktoris, and then it's mischal on that malacha which they've already done. Okay, so then Rabbi Chia asks the obvious question: what do you do? If you weren't chayav for them most mishor rishona, how it's going to work? Okay, so the what are you going to do with the most Arcturus at this point? You can't. There's no way to redeem it. So you use it to you use it to you sell it to raise money to be mekayitz mizbeach. Now, Reb Chaim says you sell it to a hediot, and you use and you then you buy back from the Truma Chadasha, and the money which you and the money which you with which you sold it to the hediot, you use to the to do ha'iketz mizbeach. Could be sold to the Umnin. Again, just like it's a low plus, they always sold it to the Omnin, but and they took it back from them because that was the procedure. I'm not sure why it says specifically to the hediot, but in any event, in this case, since there's no way to redeem it, so you sell it to a hediot or to the Omnin, and then they buy back. They buy it back from the Truma Chazasha, and the money which they had gotten for the original sale that they used to the Kaitz. Okay, that brings us to Lamed Ravav, and we'll stop here for today.